Hi, I'm Charlie, M880 Cummins off the Cummins Forum, First Gen and Ramcharger Central. What you see here, this is my crew cab project, 85 crew cab. There's a long bed two-wheel drive, shortened it 16 inches, made it a short bed, and doing the four-wheel drive conversion, making my own brackets for all that. Behind you, cameraman, is the paint booth I've been working on. About $130 in supplies. Gave me a booth that's 16 feet deep and 12 feet wide. Not quite finished with it yet, but it's really easy to heat. I have to work out the ventilation stuff for it and finish the wiring. But it can be heated with an infrared electric heater. So I can't fit a whole truck in it, but I can do most of a truck in there, and it's really nice to use. I hope it is anyway. So the topic I want to talk about is Dana 80s. I just picked this axle up today. I thought I got a steal at 275 bucks, and I did find a major issue with it. It's got a 354 carrier power lock, which, you know, it's what you want. You don't want the track lock carrier. They're not as strong. Dana 80s, in case you didn't know, they have a 4-inch tube diameter. There's several different variations of what kind of wheel bearings they use. I'm not too familiar with everything about them. This is kind of new for me, but right here is the main issue. What happened is it looks as if the wheel bearings ran out of oil, and they got hot, bearing failed, started spinning on the shaft, and with friction comes heat, and this got so hot that it started to twist this piece right here, and the weight of the vehicle made it warp and come upwards. And from a side view, you can see that it comes up like this. The end of it was cracked, and to get the axle nut off, I had to heat this and back the nut off. And I thought, heck, at that point I could weld it up, but then I saw that the actual spindle was warped. So I'm going to show you my dilemma, and feel free to chime in with any replies of what you think I should do, but I think the two options I'm going to present are pretty good. The first, if available, I will buy a new spindle. This is pressed into the tube. Found that out when I ran a crowbar down here. I could feel a step in the tube right here, so that's pressed in and welded. I believe it's welded onto there. There's a local shop that does a lot with semi-truck axles. So if I do that, I mean, I'm probably talking a few $100s to get this housing repaired. I don't have drums, missing a hub, and I thought I was missing an axle shaft, but I guess I'm not. So I don't know if this is related to the wheel bearing failure, if there's, if the guy was doing, 50 miles an hour with a load in his truck, and the bearing failed, seized up, and then it just broke the shaft. I find that pretty amazing, just because you would think the power lock carrier would, take some of the stress off the axle when the wheel locked up. You could see right here, there's like in this little gap here, it looks like there's a void in the steel pouring. And, it shows that the shaft did fail right there because of an issue in the quality of the machine work. That's pretty unbelievable. That's a 35 spline shaft, which is the basic one for a Dana 80. They do have a 37 spline. I think that's the only other axle shaft. I'm not quite sure. So that, yeah, I definitely need a new axle shaft. I couldn't believe I saw a 35 spline shaft broken. I will have to investigate the carrier to see what kind of damage there is. This housing is out of a cab and chassis truck. It was in a 94 Ram 3500 one-ton. And the nice thing about that, using them in a first gen, is the spring pad widths are the same. The centering bolts are different diameter. I'm going to have to drill this deeper and weld up the edge and use a die grinder to get it to the right diameter for our spring centering bolt. But the wheel mounting surface width, where the wheels mount, a stock first gen Dodge is 67.5 inches wide, and the second gen Dodge single rear wheel is a few inches wider. I'm not quite sure exactly what it is, but it is wider. So your tracks would be slightly different, but the cab and chassis axle, it's only ½ inch wider than a first gen. It's 68 inches at the wheel mounting surface width. So I just told you about what I could do to fix this housing and use the existing drum brakes for a second gen Dana 80. The other option is over here. What I have is most of the parts from a Dana 60 front axle. These are from a Chevy, but most of the parts, like the spindles and caliper brackets, are the same as a Dodge. There's a spindle bearing nut. That's the Chevy one. It's a little bit different design. Instead of it being a hex, it has 4 slots in it. Just to show you something for food of thought, I mean, it's meant that it's the same thread size as this. The thread's a little burred up, but you know, it's the same size. So that got me thinking in terms of doing a different spindle setup on this axle. So here's a good shaft. This was out of the side that was not damaged from a wheel bearing failure. Now, I started looking at the Dana 60 stuff I had. Here's a 1989 Cummins hub and rotor. It's an 8-bolt hub that uses a Selectro lockout. The later trucks use the internal lockout, and all the Chevys and Fords use this as well. I like these better myself, but I'm showing you this in regards to the rear axle. So as far as the bolt pattern compared to a Dana 80 axle shaft, when you set this in there, the bolts it has the same bolt circle. And if you look at it from the side, the flange is the same width as the rest of the hub. And I think that's pretty awesome in terms of, you know, if you ever wanted to do a cheap do-it-yourself disc brake setup that's pretty heavy duty. In case you didn't know, Dana 60 front axles have 2 different width rotors. I'll show you that here in a second. So this is what all of the external lockout style hubs use. This is a rotor that new should measure 1 1/4 inches wide, and the later hubs use a 1 1/2 inch wide rotor. So there is a difference. You can't use the later style rotors on the earlier style hubs. They will rub on the caliper brackets, and you can't grind enough off the caliper bracket to use them without the caliper bracket rubbing, and it'll be significantly weaker. So as you can see, the axle shaft is the same bolt pattern as the front hub off an earlier Dana 60. And this axle shaft will slide into this spindle most of the way up, or actually all the way up, and the shaft necks down right here. So that's a benefit here because the spindle has enough play so it won't rub. So if you want to do a disc brake setup, a good option would be to run Dana 60 front axle spindles with Dana 60 front caliper brackets. Here's a Dana 60 caliper in case you didn't know what one looked like. They're pretty beefy. So my thought is you use this entire setup, machine a 3/4 inch thick steel disc, and cut off the existing spindles. Do some careful measuring so you have them set the right width. That way you can use the stock axle shaft. Clean this up. I'll sandblast the whole housing and then clean this up really well right here. Grind off this old backing plate for the drum brakes, the old backing plate mount. And then I can have a steel disc made that presses onto here, drill it for the bolt pattern of the spindle, and mount it on there, and then you have disc brakes. This bearing race, same diameter. This bearing race here, same diameter. So you're not losing any strength. That is a pretty awesome upgrade, and I'm going to try it out, see how well it works, and it should be a pretty good budget. I mean, it shouldn't cost a lot of money. I'll take some measurements off my existing spindles I have here and do up a CAD document on the computer and have a local guy turn out some discs for me, and hopefully I can make that work if I can't buy spindle for the axle. But I mean, I'm starting to lean towards a disc brake now because it's a really good upgrade, and it'd be nice to have all the same rotors, pads, and brake hardware in all four corners of the vehicle. Use a proportioning valve and it should be good to go. That concludes Dana 80 Tech. I want to thank my camera guy Nick. He's working on a 4BT Model A rat rod, as you can see over here. We just got the front axle for it last week, and hope to be making it a roller soon. We have to narrow the Ford 9-inch rear down so it's the same width as the front. I had 2.5 inches chopped out of it, and a firewall made, and floor pans made, all out of 16 gauge steel. I built the frame from scratch so far. It's all 2x4 box steel, 1/4 inch thick wall, and it should move pretty quick. It's a light vehicle with a ton of torque, so keep you guys updated. Feel free to reply to whatever you saw in this video. I'm interested for your feedback, and see you next time.